Officers, happy new year to you all. Your faces a bit big. Yes. So there's some no. Well, because please switch off mobile phones to silence, please, members, officers. There's no press at panel. Yeah. The meeting is being recorded and will be available in due course on the council's YouTube channel. Remind presents to show those attending virtually and in person to hear proceedings. Can you please show you check your voice and speak clearly? This is a full meeting and therefore do not refer to each other by your first names. We're not back in this committee, and that's not it. There's no fire alarm planned. Sorry, is there any fire alarm?
There's none planned, Chair.
So I'm hearing the alarm, follow those and be at the car park. Thank you. So moving on. One, apologies for absence. No, okay, thank you. Two, to approve the correct recording of the minutes meeting held 11th of November 2025, pages 7 to 16. Closer, Walker and Secretary. Goodness me, that's not over to closer. Thank you. Moving on to items. Oh yes, and all those in favour. Thank you. And second one. Oh, sorry, I forgot you up there. How could I forget the councillor Orange over there? Items brought forward to the chair considers. I just wanted to say a few words about the loss of a valuable councillor. We all know that Neil Councillor Denton recently passed away. An excellent councillor, representing his community and North Devon councillor. I think there'll be some formal words said tomorrow night at all council, so we know that. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Nothing. Thank you. The agenda part A and part B. There's a part B. Can I have a proposal? That's the top. Second, Chair, Councillor Walker. All in favour? Thank you. So moving forward, employees survey pages 17 to 32. I think this came to the last meeting. I think we're so busy. Sorry. The officer is here to present it tonight. I can't remember who requested it. Was it Councillor Howard Booth a few months ago? Was it you who requested it? Sorry. Did you request this paper to come to this committee? I can't remember now. Anyway, I think the background was, I think with all the LGR discussions, it was sort of reassuring us, if I recall, about the sort of morale of the staff, etc. So can I hand over to you to
Yes,
you got a seat, Councillor? I'm sure of you.
I'll be in the front.
Okay.
Just to sort of clarify, yes, we did the original. And then we're going back to the offer, we started with 10.3. And councillors all found that very interesting and helpful, so they asked that just the general update of that came back to this committee. And rightly so, originally it was planned that the report would be brought in November, but unfortunately that wasn't possible. But I'm pleased to be here tonight with you all members. I will briefly start and run through the more up-to-date information with regard to the pulse survey. Now I know that you've all received the report and would hopefully have had a chance to go through that report. So I'm not proposing tonight to go through the report in detail. But I would like to just flag up a couple of points. And then, of course, I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. You will have seen from the information that was sent through that we did have an increase in responses in September. The increases in responses went up to 87, and there has been a further increase in responses up to 93 in October. But I appreciate that you haven't seen the October results yet because they weren't available at the time the report was pulled together previously. So actually we're seeing an upward trend in the number of responses being received. So that's really good. I think it will be interesting to see if that increased numbers continues. And if that does, it could be one of two things. Obviously, we've put lots of things in place to help to encourage people to start on the survey. But equally, it coincides following the understanding with regards to LGR. And so it's possible that we're seeing more responses as a result of that. But obviously, we'll keep watching that and keep analysing the information that's coming in. Having looked at the report, I'm sure that you will have noticed that in September, around that time, there was an increase in terms of our officers who identified themselves as feeling worried. And I suppose it's true to say that, any form of change, immediate reaction sometimes is to feel concerned and worried. But I think through the checks and balances that we've put in place in terms of open communication, including regular updates, helping to allay staff's fears, answering any questions that staff may have. We have a frequently asked questions section on SharePoint, and Ken's obviously doing his regular blogs as well. So we all understand that we're in a situation where we can answer questions to the elements that we already know. It's also good to see, again, you haven't seen the October results, but you will do, that 25 response has actually declined further, and now that's dropped back down to 9%. So that's really positive that we're seeing less individuals who are currently feeling particularly worried or concerned. And we are starting to see a little bit more of an increase in staff identifying that they're feeling more hopeful and happy. I think we've shifted a little bit from the initial concern to people starting to think about what potential opportunities may come as a result of LGR. And I'm sure that will sort of go up and down, as we move through the process. But essentially, that's basically where we are at the moment. You'll recall that we introduced some revised questions back in July, and this was to sort of try to understand more if people had some concerns, if they wanted to identify if they were either home or work related or both, if they wanted to, and also to reach out to see if they wanted any additional support from us with regard to any of the matters that they may be concerned about. As a direct result of the survey, we haven't seen an increased number of people coming to either ourselves in HR or through Unison or indeed through our wellbeing advisors. But we obviously keep an eye on that and make sure that we are available and accessible should somebody wish to do so. Some of the other extra things that we've been doing to help with the uptake of the survey, in conjunction with our organisational development group, I'm sure you're all aware, we've spoken about organisational development group on many occasions, and these were increasing the communication about the survey and what we do with the survey, and also to make sure that managers raise the importance of the survey and discuss openly at team meetings. To clearly advise staff with regard to the outcomes of the survey and the action coming out of that. And again, we've trialled it in the past where we've got physical officers. It was a Unison rep previously who went down to waste and recycling to help to encourage sort of further take up, and we saw some positive responses from that as well. So we've got multiple ways that individuals are able to complete the survey, as I think we've touched on previously, but we can continue to explore the alternatives to make sure that we get the best response rate possible. On the report before you, it's still showing the 2024 summary report that you've already previously seen. The 2025 full survey went out to all staff on the 17th of November, and the responses are currently being collated. I'd be happy to bring in a summary of the results of the full survey and the October and December survey results. If that would be helpful to our members. And so that was the only update I was going to give, but I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
That's to push on.
Yeah, I think it would be very good if we had up-to-date information because times are changing so fast, aren't they? I just wanted to pick up on a few points. the concerns about management not adhering, or some management not adhering to the behavioural framework, and the inconsistency in opinions of managers. And separately, the 30% of people who find themselves unhappy, which steps you're taking, because I guess you understand which areas those people are in, even if you can't identify them.
Yeah, we are able to identify to act sort of certain service areas, yeah. In regards to what we're doing about the behaviour framework is we continue to try to embed the behaviour framework. We use it for a whole range of different purposes, right from sort of recruitment. So we're bringing people into the organisation who comply and do support our behaviour framework. And equally, where there are any concerns, we equally use our behaviour framework to tackle any areas where we believe that there is non-compliance, and that regularly takes place as and when necessary.
Have you been able to identify any patterns which are making people feel, the 30% of people feel unhappy within the organisation? Is it in certain sections?
It's not. Sorry, Dan.
No, please count. No. Yeah.
It's not quite specific to be able to hone down to a particular service area and a particular individual. But where we are having reports coming forward to us, then obviously that is an area that we are able to do.
Is it pockets of people who are working in the same areas, or is it just sort of 30% across the board?
It's across the 30% is across the board across
the spread between all of the different departments, or is it something where you can sort of try and improve things?
The introduction of asking people to identify their service area we've introduced that now, so it gives us a little bit more information in relation to where we may potentially have any concerns. So we are on it, Councillor Bushell. We are.
I think if I was in the 30% of unhappy people, I probably would have left my service area blank.
And some people do choose to do that. We always give the option, and at our previous meeting, it was a concern that people might be able to be identified by that. And so that's why we discussed it here previously. And that's why we give that sort of level of assurance that people can or needn't if they don't wish to.
Have a strategy to make these people feel more happy.
Of course, we're always seeking to make people more happy, and we're always trying to identify ways to improve things. Through the organisational development, we look constantly looking at ways in terms of listening to our staff, identifying what's important to them, and implementing some of the things which could be wider wellbeing activities, wider, webinars around health and things generally. So we are constantly looking to improve and add additional support to our staff. And as we've spoken about before, we've also got that additional support both through our counselling service and also through occupational health.
I think Mr. Triggs.
Yeah.
And then Councillor Cowan.
Thank you, Chair. As Mickey said, obviously the identification of the service area now that will hopefully give a bit more information moving forwards. It's not all within one area or specific areas. It is general across the board, and 30% being unhappy, that isn't necessarily unhappy at work. This is a poll survey about how are you feeling at that particular time. It may be things and experiences outside of work that are making people unhappy as well. So I suppose just putting some context there that it may not be specific about their work environment or issues they do have. Obviously, going through the survey results and the detail provides a bit more context to that.
There was a spike in happiness in June, July and August, I noticed. The sun coming out.
Yeah, which obviously it's hopefully weather related, who knows with that summer. In terms of identifying where there may be individual concerns, staff do have regular check-ins as well. So they have regular check-ins with their managers. We've adapted that check-in process to now also incorporate around change and local government reorganisation and how people are feeling on the back of that, because then that potential added uncertainty gives an opportunity for those discussions with their manager around how they're feeling, are there any concerns they have, and they can be addressed and brought back through their managers back to senior management team, so we can address them either individually or back through staff briefings and manager forums. In addition to that, we're also doing change management sessions with our managers, because obviously change can be unsettling. Albeit the first change management session we had One of the sessions we had, actually, a lot of people were reporting opportunities and actually feeling enthusiastic about some of the change, which was actually positive to see. But obviously, it's important we do change management with our managers to make sure that's fed down through to their teams, but also for them as managers, because they're experiencing change just like we all are at all of our levels. It's all change and uncertainty, but also opportunity for all of us. So I think some of that context is important when looking at the wellbeing results. The other thing also is the peer review report, which you will receive back. Our initial draft report and findings that we had talked about the positive culture and that family feel at North Devon Council. And again, that's hopefully coming through in the wellbeing results that you're seeing in front of you, in the positive results that obviously is being experienced. Thank you, Jane.
Next, Karen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions. How often, throughout a year, annual or whatever, do they have review and development or the appraisals? Because I know I work for Devon County Council and it was appraisals once a year and review and development. And the reason I'm asking that is because there's a very low percentage, there's only 13% here. I enjoy work but need a new challenge. And I would have thought that the review and the development meetings that you have with your line manager, that is something that would be picked up. And that's quite a low percentage of, people that, or have I got the percentage the wrong way round? Because I'm going to fail on the maths.
No.
I've got it the wrong way round. But I'm still asking the question then, and that's what it sprung to mind. So obviously, yes, I've got that percentage the wrong way round. But review and development and appraisal, is it annual?
So no, it's not annual. It used to be annual.
Okay.
More recently, we moved away from what was a historic annual appraisal. Many would describe it as a bit of a sheep dip, and it didn't really have the value that we needed. So again, through our organisational development group, we completely flipped our appraisal process on its head. We asked staff what would work for them better, so that, some people fear appraisals, don't they? Some people are quite concerned about them. And we said, what would work for us as an organisation? So we moved to check-ins. John's alluded to our check-in. So our check-in is now our appraisal process and our development process. And they are carried out much more frequently. There's no prescriptive time frame. It's not like by every April you must carry out all of your appraisals with all of your staff. It's very much for the manager and individual to schedule the timeline for those check-ins, and that is an opportunity to raise any development that might be required, necessary or desired, so that it can be fully considered. It's also the opportunity to raise any concerns or worries, and in relation to LGR, as John's alluded to, we've already identified a question in there. So every manager carrying out those check-ins will be checking back to basics and say, have you got any concerns? What can we help you with? And so on and so forth. So they're far more fluid now. The feedback that we've had from staff is that they're much better, they're more readily received. And they tend to be shorter because of the frequency, and also they are very much forward-looking rather than our previous appraisal, which was very much about what have you done in the last 12 months. But actually, we need to understand now what they're currently working on. I mean, this change is always happening, but even more so now in this point of change, we need to be able to think about, people's priorities, what they're currently working on, what that might look like moving differently. So our check-ins have been a real step forward. And as I say, that whole process was developed with engagement with our staff.
Do you feel any staff members don't follow it through and they will sink in the sort of, and not feel happy because it's not a set pattern, or,
I think because of that change, there is always that risk. But because so many people were involved, we had project teams sitting down with individuals from across the organisation, our organisational development group, and literally it was our staff who helped to sort of pull that new process together. And so the feedback that we're receiving is really positive.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. I think the table you're referring to is the one on page 25, wasn't it? Which had
I don't know.
I enjoy work but need a new challenge, 13%.
Yeah.
And I read it wrong, is that right?
No, you read it completely right. I think that is just putting some context to members for the 4 questions that were asked. So there was 4 questions asked. One was, I get satisfaction from work,
Yeah.
which 63% agreed to that question. 53% agree to the second question, which I'm content where I am in my career. So again, both positive results. Again, it'd be nice to see that higher in the 80s, 90%. But the third question was, I enjoy work but need a new challenge, 13%. So you could read that as being quite low, but actually 13% only needing a new challenge actually is probably a positive thing, because that means that 87% of people don't need a new challenge. So I suppose
Can you
it's,
clarify what the 13% means and just,
yes, the 13% is people have obviously ticked that one to say that they agree that they enjoy their work but need a new challenge. If it's only 13%, and actually I would see that as a positive, because that means that 87% of people do not need a new challenge. So they potentially are saying, these people are saying they need a new challenge, whereas actually other people are saying they don't.
okay.
It's difficult work.
Confused.
That they feel they're overworked as well, but you know.
Yeah.
And there's clearly some good messages coming out of this. What could be useful is, if we agree to bring this back, what's key is to get as many responses as possible and to make sure all service areas have got quite a good proportion. If we could have a sort of comparison of percentage of the areas responded, because we know that sort of the environment play one of the bigger teams.
The obviously the survey, the 2025 survey is already run. It's
Yeah.
already been out, so I
Yeah.
don't have that information to date. So we can't do anything more than we've done already to encourage uptake. But obviously we continue to do that. But I'm more than happy to bring that back, so you'll have more data. And as I say, I will update the October and the December pulse survey results as well for you, so that you can see those. We don't run the pulse survey in November, because that was the month that the wider wellbeing survey goes out. And as I'm sure you're all aware, you know, it's very easy to slip into survey fatigue. So we sort of dropped the pulse survey for that 1 month.
I don't think this data goes to any other committee, does it?
No, it doesn't change.
So it's probably, if there's a general request to bring this back. Yeah, okay. So we'll look at the plan next month. I think we're reviewing next year's plan, aren't we? Next year's committee.
Work programme is an ongoing review, Chair, so yes,
Yeah.
we can make sure we build it in.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. And thank you for attending. Some good questions come out of this. But I think let's say it's monitoring it, isn't it? We've had the blip of concern. Let's hope everyone's thinking this LGR is more of a those at the right age. We're looking at different things, different times of your life. You've got different.
I think in relation to about the change management that we
Yeah.
part of that was 3 separate groups, but we did a word cloud, and then most of it, you know, to establish concerns, but also to establish how people were feeling. And the overriding thing was that people are feeling more positive and
Yes.
more looking to the future in terms of opportunities that LGR may bring for us all.
You know, the only person that isn't transferred on the LGR is Chief Exec. It's all right, isn't it? I think.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's. Oh,
So I just thought it's worth having whilst we're talking about staff and organisation development, that the council have won the category of Apprentice Employer of the Year.
what excellent.
So it's through the Petrock Apprenticeships and Placements Award. So through Nikki and the team, the council have won the Apprentice Employer of the Year for large employer. So I think it's a really good result for the council in terms of the apprentices we've got and the work that's undertaken by all the heads of service and their teams in bringing apprentices forwards and the training packages they get to support them. And in addition to that, one of our apprentices was highly commended in the Apprentice of the Year award as well. So again, recognition that as an employer we're doing really well, but also individual staff are fulfilling their potential. I just thought it was worth adding that to the employee.
And that's awarded by Petrock.
By Petrock. Obviously, Petrock status has recently changed, but obviously the awards ceremony is next month. We've just been notified of those 2 positive pieces of news.
Excellent news.
I just asked Chair, how many apprentices do we have in post at the moment? Roughly.
We have apprentices, but we also have substantive staff who are carrying out apprentices as part of their role. We can find out the exact number and let you know. So I know it's been recently updated. I wouldn't want to give you a number. I know it's in the 20s, I think.
But I can confirm that, as I say.
And we'll send that out through Kate and get an email
Yes,
sent out
because
to
the
confirm.
ones I've met are terrifically impressive.
Yes.
Really good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the update. That's wonderful news.
Can I
Yes.
make a motion that we vote on the report as noted and thank Nikki for her time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to know, is the information about the apprenticeship award shareable now or?
It's been recorded. So
We've been notified. There's no time bar on it. Obviously, the award ceremony is next month, so yeah, it can be shared.
you think about tomorrow night and everything, are you? Discuss that. Okay. So, so to be able to pose her a seconder. There. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Go on to miss you again.
Yeah.
Not sat with the rest of us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all on the spot there, I think. Moving on to item 8, update of the delegate power. Oh no, it's on hosting, sorry, update on hosting related projects. I think this, I think sort of following, linking to our risk register. I think there's been a lot of work on, homelessness. I'll hand over to you and
Thank you, Chair.
are you doing it? Are you doing
I've
presentation?
got a little presentation, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, members. Happy New Year to you all. So I think the purpose of me being here tonight is clearly we've got a risk around temporary accommodation and homelessness on the corporate risk register. So I put this presentation together just to talk about how we're controlling that risk and what further mitigating actions we've got in place. So as you know, we've got a corporate plan, and one of the priorities of that corporate plan was to increase the availability of council owned or managed temporary accommodation. So the next thing we did after that is we developed our own housing strategy. We worked with a lot of our partners, a lot of our agencies to come up with that document. It went out consultation with members, with a wide range of stakeholders and also our public as well. And within that document, we've got a corporate and a housing objective, which says we will strategically plan and deliver housing provision to try to meet local needs. We will tackle the widening imbalance between supply and demand and increase the availability of decent, affordable and accessible accommodation for residents in need. So what we've also got is a triangulation of strategies as well. So at the top, we've got the commercialisation strategy. Below that, we've got the asset management strategy and the housing strategy, and they really do link together. So what I'll go on to show in this presentation is around commercialisation, how we've used those business cases to bring forward new property, what that return on investment is looking like. That then links in with our asset management strategy. How are we holding those accommodation? What's the quality that we're expecting out of those, making sure that we're managing the voids really well so those properties aren't left open for a long time. And then that links in with the housing team, our temporary accommodation team, who then look after the welfare of our customers who are then allocated into those properties. So our housing strategy was built on 3 themes, and I'm really sorry if you've read this and you articulated it and you could relay it, but I'm not sure I could. So I thought I will just highlight those themes that we've got in front of us. They are prevent homelessness by supporting our citizens to stay in their current homes if they have one, but if this isn't possible or they're already homeless, seek to help to find them alternative solutions. The second theme is provide new housing supply new housing to meet social demand, delivering affordable, sustainable, healthy homes wherever possible. And finally, make homes healthy, improve the quality of existing homes, making them safe and healthy, and in turn making their occupants healthy too. So housing is a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, really. There are so many elements around it, and it's our major concern would be keep people in their house. If we can prevent homelessness in the first place, that's really what we want to be able to do. We want to find ways to keep people in there, and whether that's through disabled facilities grants or negotiation with landlords or helping with rent and deposits or arrears, etc. But if we're not able to, then we've got temporary accommodation and specialist supported accommodation. We try and enable new housing through our planning system. We've got affordable housing, so trying to negotiate those affordable housing on those new developments. Best use of existing housing, and that's allocations through Devon Home Choice.
empty homes. We've got a dedicated empty homes officer. And then understanding the market and the imbalance which we've currently got. I think we all know we've got a housing crisis currently, and also how well our stock is being managed and those hazards in our private rented sector. And we've recently had the Renters' Rights Act come through, where we've got a major project internally to ensure that we're going to deliver against all of those functions. So the risk that you've got on your corporate risk register is the risk is unable to meet the temporary accommodation need and the increased homelessness approaches that we get. This is caused by increased demand on our housing services, and the consequence of that to us, increased costs, having to house those people in temporary accommodation, supporting our clients whilst they're in there and managing their care, recovering those costs and managing those units as well. So where does that cause come from? Where is it out there in our market that's causing that increase? It's pretty much everywhere, to be honest. We've got short-term holiday lets, we've got low income, we've got high prices, we've got a lack of affordable housing, we've got reduced social housing, family breakups, complex cases coming forward. So there's a whole myriad of reasons out there in our community which are triggering people to be either at risk of homelessness or actually homeless. And just to give you an idea of some of the 4 carriages that we go through, I've mentioned homeless prevention before, and that's really where we want to put our effort. We want to keep people there. If we're not able to do that and they become homeless, they go into what we call our relief duty. And we've got 56 days then to try and establish whether we've actually got a priority need. So during that time, we're out checking their situation, checking some of their correspondence. Often the applications will come in and then it takes some time to actually get that baseline of their need. If they have got a priority need, they then go into what we call main duty, and they have to stay in main duty until such time as they've either found themselves a property or we've managed to find one for them. And that has to be an assured tenancy. So that's often where the blockages come, because we haven't got a whole range of solutions out there in the community. And that's why we've decided to find more temporary accommodation to try and free up and get those people into homes where they've got more sustainability around it. So what have we done so far? I think we've done quite a lot. I think you members have been really ambitious and let us have money and allowed us to do quite a lot of stuff, which has been really, really amazing. We've got a new housing strategy, which got signed off last year. We've become a local authority registered provider. That's the first time we've had that status since 2000. So we transferred all of our stock to North Devon Homes, and now we've stepped back into that arena. It's quite scary. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of compliance issues around that. But we have registered, and we've got a tranche of between 24 and 27 properties that's going to come forward, which is amazing. We're trying to exit from our private rented sector units of accommodation. Was the accommodation always lovely and perfect? No, there were some elements out there which I'm not sure I'd want everybody living in. So we're exiting out of those. Like I say, we bought 24 units of accommodation. We've been using the local authority housing fund and drawing down on those, which bolsters our capital to come in and help support buy those properties as well. We've got the refugee programme, we've got that empty home strategy, we've got pods, and we've also got accommodation for rough sleepers, and then the grant elements which keep people in their house. So an enormous amount of work is already going on to manage this risk. But for the factors that we said, which just drive that homelessness through, those numbers do keep coming across our threshold. So the stock we own, we've got 24 units so far even. We've got 4 in the conveyancing pipeline. We've offered on another 2 and wait a decision. We lease 18, and we've also put an offer in on 8 of those units because we'd really like to purchase those because they're essential to our offer. And then we're trying to move away from bed and breakfast and those spot purchases. But what I will say, just in case any of our suppliers listen to this, they have been fantastic. They have taken clients from us where other people wouldn't take them, and they've accommodated really complex. So as much as we're trying to move away from it, I think there's absolute thanks to go out for where they have stepped in, especially during COVID, where we would have really struggled. And the benefits of holding our own stock is that we get to increase our asset portfolio because holding housing does seem to be the right thing to do. And it also allows us to reclaim the housing benefit. So just a couple of examples in terms of those properties that we've already bought. I just cited two there that we bought back in 2018. And you'll see the values there of 175,000 for one and 156 for another. And I did work out the percentages earlier with the help of AI, of course. And it said, so for the first property, we've got an increase in value between 14 to 25%, and the second one between nearly 9% and 15.4. So a really good return on our investment, a real commercial element, a solid investment moving forward. And clearly house prices go up and down over time, but it's not just holding those assets. It's enabling our clients to go into really decent, solid accommodation that we've chose that's managed really, really well. And then coupled with that, the cost that we were paying before for that B&B accommodation and that spot purchasing was really expensive. We couldn't claim for the housing benefits and it was just lost money really, whereas purchasing our own and holding that does seem to make a lot more sense. So what are we doing? What are we going to continue to do on top of those internal controls? We're going to reduce the spot purchases as I've referenced. We're going to continue to purchase more. We've got our first two tranches coming through, which will give those sustainable tenancies. And we're also going to work with the combined county authority on their housing strategy. So what did last year look like? I thought I'd just put some quick stats up around what last January to December looked like for us. We had 1,693 approaches, which is a lot of people that we're managing. Sometimes they're repeat people, but those are those volumes that are coming through. And out of those, 1,029 turned into real cases. So that's the housing options team down there managing between 40 to 60 cases every day. And that's quite a juggling act. What are the reasons people are coming through? They are actually homeless, and that doesn't include our rough sleepers. They've had a notice to quit from their landlord, friends or family no longer willing, and I should have put in or able to accommodate because sometimes it just doesn't pan out. Domestic abuse victims, unfortunately, and relationship breakdowns, but we did have a 27% success rate of preventing those becoming homeless, which is where we want to concentrate our efforts. And the last thing I just wanted to put up, because I do need to tell the virtues of my team, because of course I think they're amazing. And they never get to the end of the day and it's like, all job done, we'll put our feet up. They're always thinking about their customers, they're thinking about solutions. And I won't read these out, but I thought these were a couple of feedback that we've had. And they're really quite humbling. And this is the reason that housing officers turn up every day and do their job. So I'll just give you a moment just to scan your eyes over that. Hi everybody. So that is the end of my quick sort of update on what you've allowed us to do, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay.
Oh, lots of questions. Oh no.
Councillor Bushell.
I was at a LGA training course last week, and one of the things that we were discussing was corporate risks, and one of the things we said was that the heads of service should be coming to present about corporate risks. So I said, oh, that's on our agenda. They were very impressed. They were also very impressed that an authority the size of North Devon has invested so heavily in temporary accommodation, and I think it's definitely the right way to go, and thank you to your team for managing that for us. I think it's a really positive story. It would be lovely to see those figures coming down an awful lot and people being in long-term secure accommodation, but at least we are doing our best to help them.
Thank you. And if I can just come back on that point, although it's reference housing, there are so many people involved in this. We've got our property team, we've got our legal team doing conveyancing, we've got our HR team getting the right staff in place. So housing, although I'm here presenting it, so many factions across the council do contribute to that. I think it's just worth making that point. Thank you.
Councillor Bushell.
I've just got two questions. The first one is, how do you define priority need?
So that is set out in law. So please don't ask me to tell you what that is. I can't. So, but there are very, very sort of clear guidelines around what is priority, and that could be to do with health, having a child, having complex needs, and the fact that they're under the regime of adult social care or children's social care. So it's quite prescriptive. I think what we've adopted, we're trying to be a really kind authority. We've set up an eviction panel now where even if we're evicting people, we do think about what other wraparound support we can give for them. So I can't quote it. I can absolutely get somebody to signpost you to the legislation and you can read one evening when you wish. But that's how it is determined.
I just think that everybody who is homeless has a priority need.
Well, it isn't the case. Unfortunately,
The
and that
priority is getting the house, surely.
Yeah.
And
but
there must be a lot of people who are dropped off because they don't have a priority need. And that's a real shame, isn't it? That
it is. And
even the government prioritising it, it should be if you're homeless.
yeah.
We need to help.
So what we do, Chair, if that's okay, is that we have the Freedom Centre and our rough sleeper team there. So they deal with those who haven't got a priority need. And we've got a separate stream to make sure that they're looked after. And during Christmas, just as an example, we only had 3 rough sleepers out in the town, and that's because they wanted to be out. So they didn't engage. So we have got 2 separate pathways, the legislative route and our kind route, I like to call it, where we sort of mop up where others can't.
And that framework, is that a national framework on priority, or is that a local, national? And that's transparent to the end users.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we're held to account by the Ombudsman or Shelter if we don't adhere to those, and they're quite hot on that. So it's really important. So constant upskilling and training of our housing officers to make sure they're adhering to the Renters' Rights Act, which has just had royal assent, is a major change. We took a project initiation document to SMT this week, and it's that's going to require a lot more resource and signposting around that, and we've got a big project team sat around that. But I can come back and explain about that.
Can I go with the second half? Sorry.
So I wasn't sure that was the second one. So yeah,
The second one, I feel a bit bad asking because you're doing so much. But certainly as a town councillor and a trustee to the Community Land Trust, or director to the Community Land Trust in South Molton, do you have aims by drawing down funds from Homes England to develop an estate, perhaps partnering with a CLT, which would obviously bring a large number of more houses without, as I understand it, a direct cost to the council, because Homes England would give the funding for that?
So, if I may, Chair, we've got a really healthy pipeline of CLTs, and North Devon are often cited as one of the best deliverers. We haven't yet got our first house, but we, in terms of Woolacombe and Ilfracombe and South Molton, I think South Molton's actually overtaken the other 2. That's accelerated a lot quicker.
that's why you want to. Yeah, no conflict of interest there, councillor.
We have rather cheated because the town council own the land, so it's probably simplified things that having the two.
Fast tracked.
And we've done the same in Ilfracombe. We gifted a piece of land at Bicklescombe. So there are our team, and we also commission Middlemarch to help any CLTs are quite far advanced. Jamie Jays, who's our enabling officer, is often taken to government to talk about how we've got to that situation. So our pipeline is healthy. There's always more we could do. But what I'm hoping is that as we see some of those actually delivering those properties and people gain confidence in the fact that CLTs are a vehicle to bring affordable housing. And the amazing thing about CLTs is they are then held in the community in perpetuity as affordable properties, and that's where the value add around that is. So yes, it was my long convoluted answer.
But are we using our powers as a housing association to actually build the houses? That's
no. So we're not a developer. So we because that comes with a whole host of other complicated. We are there to facilitate and help bring those forward. And I'm hoping that you've had an enormous amount of support from the housing enabling team. Homes England they want people to take that money and drive those forward, and
a great deal of financial support on all of the keeping things moving. I won't I won't divulge the amount that's in my head. I'm sure John will tell us exactly how much was given to the South Molton area, but it was a significant amount of money, and it wouldn't have been we wouldn't be able to do the groundwork or the ecology, you know, all
that enabling stuff that
all
you
that boring red tape stuff that has to happen, and you've got to pick it at the right time of year, and Middlemarch obviously have helped us a great deal as well. So there is thanks to the team directly from South Molton.
Thank you. And maybe the South Molton one will be one of those shining lights that we can then start to promote. We can talk about that through the CCA, the Combined County Authority. Thank you.
And I understand also that I champion the fact that there are single people who need housing association homes, and I understand there's a bias on the estate for 1 and 2 bedroom houses.
We certainly identified the need in that regard, and with the new local plan that will be coming forward, I think we need to rethink about our policies and the tenures of those properties coming through, because more people are living single, whether that's through choice or by design. So yeah.
Great. Catch a trick. Opposite tricks, and then yeah.
Are you trying to get rid of his wages and just give him a councillor's allowance?
Keep rubbing it.
He might not like that deal.
Their eyes count. It's just coming back on a couple of those points. Obviously, yeah, in terms of obviously tenure, part of our social housing plans for the properties Nina's touched on are sort of a range of 1 bed, 2 bed and 3 bed. So focusing on that need rather than the higher end. The CLT programme obviously had a finite amount of money to it, because obviously it previously came from the Community Housing Fund. But through the work Nina and the team did, they put a bid into the County Combined Authority and managed to get £110,000 last year to come into the CLT programme, which then forward funded the Willicombe and Paracombe schemes. So what that enabled the team to do is then free up the remaining money that was there to bring forward the other 5 or 6 priority areas. So that additional money that's coming through the CCA has now enabled more schemes to come forward and pay for some of those costs. So hopefully that delivery come forward a little bit quicker.
Thank you. Howard Booth.
Just wondering, Chair, what form lobbying the government takes? How do we do that? Is that through the LGA?
It's what we're hoping is that we're going to use the Combined County Authority housing arm to do it through there. So strength across Devon, looking at a pan-Devon approach, talking about things like we used to have a community housing fund for CLTs, that's gone away. So it's only by the funding that John's just talked about that we've managed to carry on pushing that through. Local housing rents, I don't think I'm saying that exactly right, but they're still at 2011 rates, which makes the affordability very, very difficult. So lobbying in regards to that. Renters' Rights Act, again, we've been given a little bit of money to bring that forward. I don't think that's enough. So that's hopefully that will be the vehicle then to push that lobbying through, because it'll be a greater voice. And what we did through the MGA Peer Challenge is that we need to shout loud. North Devon, we are doing such great things. We need to celebrate those, and we need to shout more about what we need.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It was just to come back on the same point with the Renters' Rights Act. So, you know, as Nina's alluded to, we've had some funding, which again obviously doesn't cover necessarily the costs that we anticipate coming forwards. But last night, myself, the MP, was in a meeting with ministers, and he invited me in on that meeting as well. So I joined the meeting with House of Commons, and that was to talk about local government funding. But we also brought the Renters' Rights Act funding in on that conversation as well. So we are making representations to government and trying to put forward the additional costs that Nina's team will, and the whole council will obviously incur, to try and make the case for North Devon to have additional funding.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. And adopted member Whitmore.
You mentioned at some point about your return on investment, and actually I just wanted to say my children go to school with a mum who she ended up in accommodation like that, and it was £800 a week. And you think, well, my mortgage isn't much more than that a month, and that was at a holiday camp. It wasn't you, it was we're Torridge, but down at Westwood Ho in the midst of winter at £800 a week. And you working in local government finance, it's soul destroying when you think, well, that's actually where we're just bleeding all the money. So thank you for all the work you do. I think it's fantastic. This is for you. Is this commercial at this point? When does it become something that we consider commercial? Because you were saying they're being moved into something.
Yeah, so the properties obviously will become a registered provider. So that's part of our housing function. So we can do that under powers that we'll get through the registered provider status. So there'll be council-owned properties. In terms of if we wanted to make those properties more commercial and say put them on market rents, then we would need a different vehicle to put those through.
So we're not doing that at the moment, so we don't need to worry that the rest.
We did consider it as part of that feasibility about how should we hold these properties, but because we feel we need to be an ethical landlord and provide that much needed social housing, we felt going down the housing company route and doing it from purely a financial perspective wasn't the right thing for the council at this time.
And the final part of my question, sorry, when you were talking about celebrating success earlier, I did think when you were sharing some slides, would it be worth actually sharing some case studies of good practice that have happened? Because I generally find you only have to open social media or the newspapers and you get told misinformation about why we have such a big housing problem in this local area. And I think it would be really valuable to actually share why we genuinely do and the support that you offer. And because I think sometimes local government does get seen as a waste of money, and the amazing work you do doesn't necessarily get recognised. And I think if there is a way you could, I get very passionate about this stuff, so that's why I'm basically crying.
Yeah, I can absolutely come back on that. I think just picking up on John's point as well, the fact that we're going to make these social affordable housing. We've drawn down £1.2 million from Homes England for our first tranche, and our application for our second tranche will be going in February. You've noticed that I've not specifically referenced any of the locations of these properties. We don't advertise that. Often people are fleeing domestic violence, and also we don't want people to feel stigmatized. We want people to feel part of the community. So we tend to bring.
I don't mean necessarily naming them, but you could also just discuss like case X.
Oh yeah, no.
I wouldn't say you tell them I'm homeless and you've given me a house and all that, but more just this is the journey someone went through and this is how we were able to support.
And we've done a bit of that actually. So with some of our rough sleepers, we've been we had some news stories on Spotlight, and I can send you the links, but do have your issues by the side of you because it is absolutely gorgeously lovely. We also do a housing newsletter which comes out regularly from our programme. So we've got a housing and community safety programme. It's been a little bit lapsed in the last couple of months because we lost one of our superb communications officers, but we've now got Mr. Crocker who's come onto that programme. So he's stepping into that realm. So there has historically been newsletters going out, but you do sort of need to sign up to gov.uk. And I suppose as well, that is all of your roles to go out and tell people as well what the council is doing and spread that, because some of this is so lovely, but it gets hidden by some of the other stuff. So I appreciate your feedback.
Okay. Is that right? Lovely, thank you, Chair. Just the outreach team, they put it on Facebook, and I don't do a lot of social media, but it is something that I share as soon as I see it up there.
Yeah.
And I know my friends and family love that information. So is that something that you guys could do? Because I know the outreach, I know you probably work together.
Yeah, well, so that is our team. Then
So that is that team. So I'm sharing that, and obviously people, members of the public, are thinking that that's just covering the rough sleepers. But I think if there was a separate bit that came out from you guys on the Facebook, North Devon Council, then I know I would share that, because I think you do an incredible job. So
I'll talk to Mark and we'll feed that back. Some of the best social media we get, fly tipping, the community just goes wild if you get a success on that. They absolutely love it.
So on the housing side as well, I think you ought to.
It's a very good point. And I think actually sometimes we get drawn into the day-to-day business, going through the churn, getting those, and we forget. So it's a really jolly good point, and I will talk to our communications team about that. Thank you very much.
Just quick questions, really. Clarification. I think we told today the housing needs audit has started. Internal audit, I think, is that the one?
That's based in Q4 as with housing strategy work.
So we'll have feedback on that sometime. New funds. There is somewhere we've put in a bid for another $500,000 somewhere. I've read somewhere recently. It's confidential, I don't know. For hosting, was there? I thought it was a bulletin or a report.
The
2027? Maybe not, maybe it's different council.
I think some funding from the £1.2 million that
Oh,
you
maybe
referred
that's-
to last week that we brought to Future High Streets Fund last week.
Oh.
So that was using some of that funding to put £500,000 into the project and use the other remaining to reduce our borrowings. That made it the £500,000 we were referring to, but
And this one's just pretty quick. In the next probably 4 weeks, are we likely to see more evictions before the Section 21 kicks in on the 1st of May?
I haven't, what we're dealing with
Clearly.
currently today is
Yeah.
we're dealing with the Christmas spike. So
Yes.
we always get a spike in January, unfortunately, where people have spent too much time with each other over the Christmas period, and we tend to have a bit of a fallout for that. I am not sure that landlords are fully aware. So
Some of them, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a risk we've identified.
Yeah.
And the other risk that we are definitely alive to is that because there's so much regulation around the Renters' Rights Act, we think that some landlords will exit the market. Because-
That's my next question. There's a lot of properties going on that
Yeah.
can probably be rented before.
So we need to buy those, so we need a bit more cash. So-
Yes.
But what,
Yeah.
what we've
Yeah.
got is that, I'll just put that out there now, is
I can name the streets for you around.
there are people who've got 1 or 2 properties
Yes.
where this will just be too onerous
Yeah.
and they'll just go, I'm out.
Yeah.
So if you want to spread the word about getting the next £4 million, we can certainly get a report to you easily in the next thing. But
Okay.
yeah, there is a risk associated with that.
Yeah, keep an eye on it really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's lots of praise, which I thought would get a lot of good news going on in the last few months. I think it's credit to everyone, but thank you. Moving on to item 8, update officer delegated powers and the Constitution report from senior solicitor and monthly officer.
Thank you, Chair.
To you.
Good evening, everyone. So this report proposes updates to officer delegated powers in Annex 2 to Part 3 of the Constitution to ensure that they remain current and appropriate for officers to carry out council functions effectively. Delegated powers are necessary to ensure that named officers have appropriate authority to execute council functions, which that they can further delegate to other officers as needed. We're about appropriate delegated powers. Officers cannot act on behalf of the council, risking legal challenges to their decisions. The Constitution requires an appropriate division between decisions taken by members and those by officers, typically based on the decision's importance, political sensitivity, and legal requirements. The review of delegated powers carried out focused primarily on powers held by the head of programme management office, housing and health, who you just heard from, and so that's a relatively new role that they inherited powers from the former head of planning, housing and health. So when that was done, that kind of generated an excuse to look again at the powers held. Managers, God, I can't even talk today, across in environmental health and housing were consulted during the review, and other authorities' constitutions were examined, and the changes are primarily to tidy up existing powers rather than add new ones to ensure that they reflect current law and avoid being overly specific, which could risk omitting necessary powers. So new powers like animal penalties, notices, and updates to the pavement licensing regime, for example, have been incorporated as well. One notable change addresses paragraph 1.5 of Annex 2 to Part 3, which currently suggests all officer decisions require consultation with the various members listed in that paragraph. This is considered an error in the original drafting, as it would make day-to-day operations impractical. The proposed change would require consultation with members only where appropriate, reflecting current operational practice, while maintaining that political, sensitive, or high-impact decisions should involve members. So the recommendation before you today is that full council is recommended to update Annex 2 to Part 3 of the Constitution as shown in Appendix A of the report. Appendix B is there to show you what has been changed. It's a sort of track change document.
Thank you. Any questions? We're not going to go through it line by line. It seems quite straightforward. Any questions?
It really just boils down to, do you trust the officers to act in a professional capacity?
Yeah.
Which, based on 7 years as a councillor, I absolutely do. So,
Yeah.
no to.
So, recommendations 2.1 report. Can I have a proposer? Seconder, Councillor Howard Booth. All in favour? I'm looking at Joe. All in favour. Thank you. Check that.
Correction, said Councillor Triggs, it's Councillor Tops.
Oh, Tom. Oh, sorry. Well, yeah. Tom in salaries, right? I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm at that age now. Right.
The chair probably thinks I'm a little child.
Alright, so we move on to agenda item 9, internal audit progress report 2025-26, page 97 to 110. Over to internal audit manager.
Chair. Good evening, members. My name is Darren Roberts. I'm the assurance manager here for North Devon Council to present the internal audit progress report for 25-26. In short, this is our progress report for the work that we can actually done in Q3. Moving on from the progress report that we submitted to the committee last November. The audit plan is being delivered in accordance with the plan that was approved by the Audit and Governance Committee back in March 2025. And overall, the opinion statement as it stands at the moment looks as if that we will be moving towards a reasonable assurance on the basis of the work that's been undertaken so far. If you move on to page 5 of the report, it refers to the summary assurance opinions of the progress against the plan. A few elements that I think I need to update members about this on. A few of these things have to do with timing, I'm afraid. The last Audit Governance Committee was back in November, and this report was actually prepared for submission about mid-December. So since then, a lot of things have moved on with regard to some of those yellow items. A couple of them have actually moved into the draft report stage, and at least 3 of them will be moving into draft report stage ready for next week. Just a little update as well with regards to the resources that we've got with regards to any concerns that we've got for completion of the plan. The completion of the plan is generally the SLA for that is that we complete 90% of the plan. And just as it was this year, I would predict that I would call what I call a hangover into Q1 with regards to completion of that plan going forward. But I am pleased to inform members that we have got additional resources coming into the team. We appointed a new assurance officer into the team in October who've passed their probationary period. So they will be allocated out onto more work. And I've also got the reallocation of another assurance officer from another DAP partner that will help us out, what the chair mentioned earlier on the housing elements going forward as well. As I said, there are a couple there that will be finalised, but as I said, we're just having a look at the officer comments for those at the moment, so I wouldn't be able to comment on those today. However, one that was finalised since the last audit committee was that over council tax, where we gave reasonable assurance. We've issued a final report for that. Generally, the control framework for that was generally very good. But there was a few issues in there, specifically over evidence of the balancing summary and the evidence with regards to confirming that the number of bills that have been issued, which is statutory for them that they need to do. They need to report that the number of bills issued matches the fact that comes off of the council tax system. Finally, the other element in there was about write-offs. So unfortunately, we couldn't find evidence of write-offs under £1,500 having signatories or communications from the Director of Resources. And the council tax expense account was reviewed, and although items are monitored and allocated promptly, we did actually note that a large volume of entries would go through this account every day, which is it wouldn't really what we would expect to happen. But as I said, the running of the account itself was monitored and allocated promptly. The only other thing that I would inform members of is that we are in the position at the moment of producing a new internal audit plan for 26-27. Myself and Mr. Tate sat down earlier and looked at the first iteration of that. The second iteration will then go through senior officers here. And at the moment that is targeted to be presented to members at the Audit and Governance Committee in March 2026. Happy to take any questions from you.
Just on page 10 of your report, the customer survey results, actually you asking council employees, isn't it, what they think of the audit?
That's correct.
Oh, in that case, can I congratulate you on not disturbing 86% of the people you audited?
We try our best to kind of work in the background. Really.
And to clarify, as new councillors committee, these results are combined with 6 or 8 other councils and reviewed at the Devon County Council. There's a governance committee there.
Oh,
So these results, so we look at the share and we look at the overall results because it's a combined service by, is it, I can't remember, 6 councils?
Yeah, there's a number of partners in the
Partners,
Devon. As part of that, we have a partnership committee of which each corresponding council's members sit on that. So the customer survey results for the whole partnership then go to that committee for.
And generally, it's good across the board. I'm sure it's much better here. So any other comments on that? Mr. Triggsby? Yeah.
Just to have some context, Chair, as has just reported. Obviously, it's a timeline in terms of when the audits are taken out. So when you first look at it, obviously there's a number of months into the plan. We've only got 1 quarter left. You think, well, actually, there's quite a lot to be done, but it's a similar picture to sort of previous years. So this time last year, when it came in January 25, there were 12 outstanding audits at that time, this time last year. We've got 16 on here, but as Darren's just alluded to, 5 of those have now started. So we're on a similar path to sort of getting those through. The audits don't then finish at the end of March. It goes into the new financial year because the audit opinion, which gives that overall assurance to you, comes in June. So you have still got 5 to 6 months worth of work still to be done here, just to put that into picture in terms of what the financial year looks like.
We've had pre-meeting.
Oh, yeah, we can.
Any concerns?
Minutes.
And you have as well, yeah.
Independent.
So we can reassure, well, I've been reassured, have you been reassured? Thank you. Thank you, yeah. Thanks, John, for that.
That's reassuring for us as well.
Internet number?
I was just going to ask, just because I was pedantic before and got Mr. Triggs to update the report, is there any way I could ask that the audit report that comes to us identifies where the audits originated from? So like if you were to look at this plan we look at here and you see treasury management, why are we looking at treasury management? You know, is it looked at because something was identified last year that's caused concern, or is it something that's come from the risk register, or does it link, you know, just a key financial system that's a regular one we're looking at? Because when we looked at the plan last year, I didn't have anything to ask, and I went away and looked at what should I have asked, and that's what I should have asked. And I thought, I'm not going to sit there and ask you 20 times. So why is this on the plan? Why is this on the plan? So if there could just be some sort of detail that just says, you know, as you're going through your planning process, why it was decided, or if, you know, it's a really high risk area, not as a high risk area. Yeah. That would be really helpful if possible.
No worries. At the moment, this is just obviously the summary opinion for this. When we actually formulate the plan, you'll see on there as to why it's there. Is it core? Has it come up as a result of corporate risk? We discussed today about some of the elements with regards to housing that's going to drop in there for next year. It says on there when it was last done, the last opinion, and the reason as to why we're allocating the data that we are looking at.
Really helpful. I'd really like to see that version. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
And it's going to link to where appropriate to risk register or risks as well. Yeah,
that's right. And if there, and this is again a part of the discussion earlier, where we're unable within the in year 3 of the 4-year cycle next year, where we're unable to attribute that corporate risk, then we actually give the reasoning why in the internal audit plan.
Yeah. It's great to continually review it and enhance it. Thank you. So just to note it, that's a proposal, second. Just a proposal. Oh, everyone hands up. Second name. Okay, that's a rough thing. And seconded by Ogre. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I abstain, so I wasn't in.
Yes, thank you. Right. Item 10, external audit progress report and sector updates. I assume Mr. Trinity might update us.
Thank you, Jessica. External audit, unfortunately not here this evening, but just to give you a brief update on progress since your last meeting. Back in November, you had their findings reports, which talked about the financial statements 24-25. That then went on to full council for sign off. Members approved the draft statement of accounts and the letter of representation that then went back to the auditors to finalise the audit process. Since that meeting on the 22nd of December, we received the final opinion from the auditors. So that's the final piece of the sign off in terms of the 24-25 statement of accounts. And that will now be published on our council website alongside a notice in terms of the conclusion of the audit. The only final piece of completion is a certificate of completion that comes from the auditors. That will come once they've had the direction from the National Audit Office that they are confirming that there's no additional work on the whole of government account service exercise. That's a final piece of the work that brings all of the public sector accounts together. We can't have our final certificate of completion until that piece of work's been done, but that allows us to still go ahead and publish our accounts, publish the opinion, and publish the notice of completion of the audit. That will be done, so our website will be updated in the next couple of days. The audit plan for 26-27 that will talk about the audit of the 25-26 current year financial statements, that will come to your March meeting. So Charlie from Bishop Devon will come and present that plan and the timeline for the audits this current financial year. I'm pleased to report that our sign off on the 22nd of December means that we're well within the backstop date of February 27th to have last year's account signed off.
Like you were saying, painting the painting the bridge, was it? It's just going cycles, isn't it? Finish one and on the next. Yeah. Thank you.
That's just a note.
Thank you. Thank you. 11 audit recommendations tracker, pages 111 to 126. It's a good news here, Alex, isn't it? I think so anyway.
Yes, Chair, this is your standing audit recommendation tracker. I'll just take you through the appendices. For Appendix A, that's a summary of the current position. The members will see there's no high risk recommendations currently on the system. There are medium risk, but none of those are due yet. Appendix B covers the audit recommendations completed since your last meeting. Appendix C and D prove that there are no outstanding audit recommendations with no time requests being asked at this meeting. Appendix E relates to the annual government statement recommendations. There's a couple of points on here. That's on page 123 of your agenda to discuss. So you see in relation to ADS 1, just asking for a committee steer on this one. When we produced the annual government statement, we put in there around the introduction of a local code of governance. That is a SIPA recommendation. It is not a statutory requirement. At the time, it was something that the committee wanted to take forward. Obviously, we're more aware now of local government reorganisation. And so I really just want that steer as to whether that's still something the committee want to progress.
Okay, that's Bussy.
Well, I mean, considering the government's given us a sort of a notice of carry on as we are for the time being, I think we should carry on as we are until we actually get a notice saying that we're going to be dissolved.
I think it's more about the workload.
Is it more about the workload?
In a sense, we would be introducing a new code just for a short period, I suppose. So it's just that steer on whether that's still something that the councillors wanted.
If I go to our intended member, then just
I was
get
just
the
going to say,
intended.
anything that would be in that code as well is already written in the annual governance statement, just in a different sort of form. So we already have the information, we just don't have it as a standalone code. Because that was the point of the code, it was just going to make the annual governance statement shorter. So you'd have your code, your annual governance statements in your financial accounts. No, it's not that we haven't done it.
Can I go to Councillor Walker then, see if you've got a view on it? So, Councillor Walker.
I think given the fact that the authority may restrict this in 2 years' time, that resources could really be used better elsewhere. So I think it would be, if we were going to be around in the long term, absolutely we should be continuing this work. But I think given the situation, I would suggest that we don't do it.
Councillor Bushell.
May I propose that we send this to full council? I don't think that this sort of steer should exclude the full council. I think there will be views on it, and this seems like it's a fairly big decision, and I'm with Adam there that we can probably do with reducing the workload. But I'd be uncomfortable with a committee of so few councillors to be making this decision. I think it would be prudent for us to put this to full council. If there's somebody who wishes to second my motion.
Walker, then back to Antonio.
Given that we run on a committee system and we are the governance committee, and this is the governance arrangement, I would respectfully like to say, Councillor Bushell, no, this is something that it definitely belongs with this committee, not with full council.
I'll just go to independent member then.
I just wanted to reassure you that we have a code of governance. What we're not doing is taking it from one document and putting it on a second document so that it sits within a different place of the internal audit, not the internal audit, the website. So it's not necessarily like a big thing, is it? It's more just the way the length of the annual governance statement is currently a bit longer than it should be because you've still got the code in it instead of in a standalone area written as a code. So I just wanted to reassure you that it's not necessarily a big risk that this has happened, that I don't know what would warrant someone going to full council.
Yeah, just to reassure members, it's the annual governance statement that is the key document, that we're not proposing this changes. This would be something in a sense you would agree before the financial year to set out all the things that you want to include within the annual governance statement. So I think that's why it has come here, just for that steer. It's something that members still really want to do.
Officer Triggs. I'll be calling you a governor then.
James as well, Chair. Just to be sure, because obviously the annual government statement does come here in terms of being formed as part of, it sits alongside the draft statement of accounts, but then it does go on to full council. So members do see the annual governance statement that sits alongside the final version of accounts that will come to members in November. So all members will get to see that final version, which incorporates all of this together anyway.
Yeah, we are discussing after this meeting the annual report. So from this committee, so we could include something in that if need be. Then, do you want to go to a vote? Do you think sort of can I get a gauge generally support of this recommendation to not?
I support the officer's recommendation, and I think maybe we should have a vote. So then it's all nice and official.
Okay, so we got a proposer, secretary, Mr. Walker. Those in favour? Okay, thank you. Good that dialogue. That's the main thing. Sort of reassuring. Thank you.
Yeah. Also on that same appendix is AGS 04. And we're just asking for a time extension on here. This is relating to contract management. So you'll see that we've updated our current guidance. But the recommendation also touched on introducing a new sort of categorisation for our fee contracts. But again, as LGR has progressed, they're really saying that across Devon, we should be moving to using standard fields and data formats for all of our contracts to make it easier to share that information. So again, really that time request just allows us to get that understanding for how Devon really is going to categorise their contracts and bring that information together.
Let's clarify. So you're talking about 25 AGS 04.
04, yeah. So we put on there a time extension request at the end of June, Chair. But again, I sort of tied up.
Version.
Oh, it's on the next page. It goes over 2 pages.
Yes, it goes on to the next page.
Okay. Oh, it's taped stuck together. Sorry. Yes, I was wondering. I thought it was a clear report. So yeah, that's what I think.
So is this a time extension because Devon County said they're going to be done by this time, or is this just a general time extension plus doing the actual work?
I suppose in a sense we could do the categorisation of contracts in our own way that we've sort of had planned and ready to go. The danger is with LGR, like I say, we want this approach for Devon, so we may end up doing something for North Devon that then is out of sync with the rest of Devon, and then we have to look at it again. So I'm kind of just saying, if members approve it, it would just be nice to have that pause with this recommendation, get the time extension, just get that feedback for Devon. Now, again, that time extension is a little bit up in the air depending on LGI. It's just to get that principle really that it may be best that we take that Devon-wide approach rather than trying to do something ourselves at this stage.
And just to clarify, we don't employ a contract procurement staff. We use through
We
Devon
use the
County.
Devon County Council Procurement Service. We do have staff within Simon's legal team.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Process, so.
Okay, that's all.
I think that's totally logical because, I mean, we need to start working together to make sure that when we do finally take the plunge and become a new unitary authority, that we are in a position to start to work in a combined authority. So starting at now, really logical.
It's not as if, 80% of the work's been done. It's not as if
Yes.
nothing started yet and you're asking us attention, so. Okay, is that the only recommendation we need to
Yes, that's
to vote on really?
You propose.
On blank. Councillor Quinn, sorry, yeah, sorry, Councillor Quinn. It's getting late, but.
Sorry, can I just ask, was that the whole appendix E or was it one particular one? I didn't catch the
It's just particularly, we're just voting on.
Yes, there was AGS 4, that was. Yeah.
And the rest is just the note, isn't it? So,
It is, Chair.
just a vote. All in favour? Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. We're certainly seeing reduction in extensions. Thank you. I think this was raised before I became a councillor, and I think sort of hopefully Councillor Bush will agree.
Every meeting, pretty much.
Every meeting, I thought we had a clear one. I didn't
I
think,
should propose that we allow this extension. I think it's on good grounds.
I was looking at hard copy, the pages were stuck. I thought we didn't have any extensions.
Really nice to see the 100% showing up on
Yeah,
there.
very lovely, thank you. Right, moving on to item 12, work programme pages 127 to 130.
Again, another standing item, Chair, is the
Yes.
work programme. So at your March meeting, we're proposing the review of this committee's terms of reference. We'll also get the feedback from the community governance review to agree the final recommendations.
Yeah.
We'll get an update on the community risk register. We'll take a look at the governance arrangements for operating as a registered provider of social housing. And as Darren alluded to, we'll look at the internal audit plan for 26-27, as well as your standing items on the agenda.
It's quite a big agenda, so we won't be adding much more to that, as we have to. That's to open.
Following on from our discussions earlier, could we add the employee survey results as maybe a bi-yearly report?
I think that's fine.
Yes, we need to add that on.
Probably sort of,
Maybe January, June.
yeah,
Right.
I think that, is it March, this plan comes through for next year? The next meeting, we have next year's plan.
In terms of the internal audit, this is in
Internal.
terms of the employee survey, we will just feed in as an annual report on your work programme if that's what members wish.
Of course, it's gone through, yes,
But
yes,
it's coming back
yes.
more recent.
Twice a year, yeah, we'll look at big slots, yeah.
I think Nikki was referring possibly maybe coming back in September once she's got the final results of the last few months of the survey. So I think that plan will come back in September, Chair. This plan goes up to March, but obviously tomorrow night you'll look at the calendar dates for the next meetings coming forward. So once they're approved, then the work programme will then go forwards for the next meetings, which will then be populated. If I can just pick up on one, Chair, on page 128, about halfway down, you've got review of policies, whistleblowing, fraud and anti-money laundering. You did review and approve those back in September. So they're now approved for the next couple of years. So you won't review those for a couple of years, but it's got report due for March. So if you're happy, Chair, to that one comes off for March.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we can review on what we've done in the past. If there is a light meeting, we look at the risk register, looking at bringing in some relevant officers to talk through the risks like we did before. And it could be LGA, it could be anything coming up next year. That's why it's a flexible plan, isn't it? Like our auditors like to be flexible.
Agile.
Agile, Yeah, it's a new tower, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you.
It's not agile anymore.
No. Good, thank you. Do we need to?
I'll never get one.
Item 13, report on the corporate risk register, pages 131 to 132.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Again, this is to just list the corporate risks in part A of the agenda. We'll go into part B when the committee's ready.
Thank
and
you.
we'll do the full discussion.
Okay. Any other comments before I move into part B?
Duly noted.
Proposal to move forward to part B. Rusty, secretary. So we're closing part A.
Yeah, quick vote, sorry.
Oh, that's all right, yes.
Thank you.